Hello everyone and welcome back to another volume by volume. This week we're talking about another sequel. It's Orient Volume 2. I've been super excited for this and to sit down and read this. If you don't remember from my last one, I talked about how much I love the covers and then how much I enjoyed the first volume, even though we didn't cover a lot. And that's the first thing I'll say about this volume. It covers a lot. There's a lot of smaller chapters in here. I think there's almost like 12 chapters in this one volume of Orient, but also means that even though I'm going to do the same thing where I cover the first chapter and I will let you know when I'm going on further, I'll give you a little tiny, like, super spoiler-free synopsis of what to expect in the volume, since the first chapter covers very little. As a matter of fact, it's like literally just a decision one of the characters makes and then leads into the next chapter. So we're still following. It follows up after the Takeda band of samurai have defeated the demon and saved Musashi and Kojiro, our main protagonists. It follows up after that. Musashi is still very sad, very defeated that someone has taken his kill. And Takeda is gathering together all the priests who've been helping the demons and sort of keeping the humans down. And the priest starts, essentially what happens here is the priests start telling them how foolish it is for them to defy the demons, yada yada, and you learn of Takeda's resolve to defeat the demons. He's living up to literally all the stereotypes that Musashi and Kojiro have known about samurai. And in the end, this starts bubbling up in Musashi and pissing him off because he sort of feels like there's some fakeness behind it. He doesn't feel like that conviction's really there. He's just saying it to say it, essentially. And the chapter ends with Musashi deciding that he's going to speak his mind to Takeda and tell him how mad he is that he took his first kill and how much he thinks that's shitty. And that's literally it. That is the first chapter, is some inner dialogue from Musashi about him being mad. You seeing the priests argue with Takeda and Takeda telling them what he'll do, essentially, and how he has all the resolve in the world to be a samurai and go through and defeat demons. And Musashi being like, I don't care if it's going to cause some issues. I need to speak my mind to Takeda. Genuinely, this is a good volume. It does a lot of world building. You actually get to learn a lot more about the samurai. So the first volume does a lot to tell you the ideas behind samurai, but this time they finally tell you about it. Tell you about what the samurai actually do. They start to actually take the scroll and the story they learned and actually apply it to reality and realize what samurai are doing. And it sets up the first pretty much antagonist of the series for Musashi and Kojiro to deal with, along with introducing you to the world outside of their little village. So beyond this, I'll talk way more spoilers about what's happening later in this chapter. I highly recommend you pick this up. We're getting the next volume next month, I think on the 3rd, so July 3rd. Is the 3rd volume, so I'm excited to pick that up and read it. Other than that, I will say, it has fantastic artwork again, tons of full-page art, super detailed to the point of, losing yourself in the art because you don't know where everything is because there's so much drawn on the page. This author/artist does such a good job in drawing these manga. That's still its strongest point, easily. So other than that, after this, it will be completely spoiler filled. So if you don't want to hear that, feel free to click off, give the video a like, leave a comment if you're going to go read it, things like that. And from here on, we're going to talk spoilers. So it does lead off. So essentially the next chapter is pretty quickly after the first. Musashi tells Takeda his mind. Takeda says Musashi has no idea what he's talking about. He's too weak, and there was nothing they could have done without them, as they're absorbing the power of the demon and things like that. He says, here you go, and tosses him this crystal, and pretty much sends them on their way as Musashi storms off with Kojiro, and they go back to his house to look at the scroll that Kojiro's dad had. And a lot of that lets them learn that the crystal they've been given is essentially the way that they're going to go on their adventure. The crystal looks like a kaleidoscope, which is actually telling them where all the near demon lords are that they can go and defeat. And they learn the biggest thing about the samurai in their world, which is they are all trying to go after what's called union under heaven. And so this springs Musashi into action. He runs up to Takeda and says he's figured out what Takeda's thing is, and that no matter what, Musashi is gonna essentially, he pulls out the typical shonen thing and he tells him, I'm gonna beat the demons before you because you haven't done it yet. So what says you can, so I'll do it before you can. And that's what Musashi pretty much leads into in his journey. And Takeda essentially challenges, saying, well, you'll need to make your own samurai band. I have the band of Takeda, the family of Takeda, so you'll have to form your own to even be near me. And it starts our story off. From there, our protagonists set off into the world. There's some fun jokes about them having to struggle outside. They joke about, like, oh, we'll never fight. And then they're outside struggling in the wilderness. And slowly they degrade and degrade until they get into a fight. That ends pretty basic. They're out fishing. They start to compete. They split off because they're mad at each other. And Musashi comes back. And Kojiro has been hurt. Someone has hurt him, and out of nowhere this female jumps out and starts attacking Musashi. She tries to talk about how weak he's going to be and can't stand her, and he just sort of throws her off and beats her up. He says he's learned it from mining and stuff like that. It's pretty funny in my opinion. And essentially they get in a fight till she pulls out some like awesome little arm blades, but then realizes she's late, steals their bike and all their supplies, and drives off back to her samurai band castle. And that's where they find the Kosameda samurai band's castle, essentially. The person we were introduced to, her name is Hattori, we learn, and she's reporting back to Kosameda, the head of the samurai band, who is essentially, we learn, is looking for strong samurai to join his band. He allows Kojiro and Musashi to come in willingly as they get brought around, and they realize that they have these beautiful moving castles that are full of people living there, farming, forging, learning and teaching new samurai and things like that they have to do because they have to move around to fight all the different demons in the world so that they can defeat them. Sort of, I'm guessing, I get a visualization of like Howl's Moving Castle vibes, sort of. But as Musashi and Kojiro are sitting down with Kosameda, we get introduced to the fact that Kosameda is the first antagonist of the series. When he learns that they don't know anything about slaying demons, he locks them up because they're useless to him because he just wants to get demon metal, which we learn is like essentially like the power source that everyone in this world is chasing after. It's what you get when you defeat a demon. You saw Takeda and his band absorb that demon's demon metal, I guess, essentially. And that's what they're going for. And so Kojiro and them get locked up, and it gives us some time to learn about Hattori, the girl that they fought with. She is in the village, and she's very dependent on the master, I think is what she refers to him as. And what happens is the master is like, look, we have no strong samurai. You need to tell the people to get ready to fight the demons. All men, children, women, everyone. Give them a sword. Tell them we're going to fight the demons because a wave of demons is coming to attack their castle. And Kosameda is essentially too proud, in a sense, to get up and move his castle. He's going to fight the demons head on, whether it kills a bunch of kids or not. And Hattori has a lot of internal struggle about the fact that she doesn't want to sacrifice everyone in there. We learn about her sister, who was a strong samurai, who unfortunately has passed away at this point, but was also tied down. And the struggle that Hattori is going through is having to speak her mind up and get away from Kosameda, which Musashi does a good job of, because the whole plot of one of the first arcs or first volumes thing was that Musashi has to speak his mind up and let people know what his resolve is, and he's pretty much telling her, if you have something on your mind, just say it. And this is what Musashi is discussing with her, and it sort of pisses her off till finally, when we get towards the end of the volume, Musashi and Kojiro escape. They see the wave of smaller demons that are, it's almost like they compare it to like a tornado coming towards the village, and they're just trying to find the metal horse, as they call it still, his motorcycle, and their swords so that they can get out and escape from Kosameda. Probably going to end up fighting the demons, I assume, or the little demon underlings, and they break into Hattori's room, which is when we learn about her sister and like her resolve, because she's talking about it as she looks at a photo and she still just can't break away from Kosameda. And they break through the painting and is like, cool, have you seen our swords? And essentially it looks like Hattori is going to be like their third party member who they're going to pick up to start their band of samurai. and they're essentially helping her push her way along, fighting against Kosameda. So I do know the third volume's cover is a really beautiful picture of Hattori, so I think we're going to get a lot more stuff on her in the next volume. I was really engaged this whole time. It's very fun. There was a lot of world building. We got to see what we're going to come up against, how they're going to fight these demons, and then get to see all these. I guess what we'll probably end up seeing is the different samurai bands, like castles, I would imagine. So I'm looking forward to that greatly. So this is a very good manga. I'm very hooked. I'm on bated breath for the next one. So like ID Invaded, the first one I talked about, how I said, I'm really interested to see what happened next. This one has me hooked. It's good that it doesn't all out, because I'd be buying it all up like I have been with Haikyuu or something. The biggest thing I have to give them credit for, there's just these full panel arts that all show up, over the screen and over my face. This person does a fantastic job of drawing. I very highly recommend you sit down and pick up Orient. It's definitely worth a read. And other than that, we have a big volume coming up next, and by volume I mean it's all the volumes in one. It's a full omnibus all in one. We might be visiting the horror world of Junji Ito. So I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave a like. Tell me what manga you're reading or anything like that, or if you've read Orient and your thoughts. Other than that, y'all have a good one, and I guess we can go put this bad boy on the shelf. I guess I'll keep this up.